The first time that I visited a corrections facility was when I was 12 years old, and Carolina, a member of our church in LA, had been arrested. My dad and I went to visit her and pray with her, and I remember so clearly still how pale her skin looked and the way that her hair looked like it hadn't been washed in so long, was sticking to the side of her face, and she looked so scared. She was 19 at the time, and I remember seeing her through that dirty plexiglass window and speaking through the crackly speaker device, and really feeling scared myself, thinking how scared I would be if I were her, how scared I was even just as a visitor. In the past 10 years, I've visited a number of corrections facilities, jails, prisons, detention centers, and I've had the opportunity to speak face-to-face with so many of our incarcerated neighbors, and it's been a transformative experience for me. In 2016, when I moved to New Mexico to start my new ministry, Core Civic, formerly known as the Corrections Corporation of America, landed a new contract in New Mexico with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to repurpose a federal facility as an immigrant detention center. There are about 250 immigrant detention centers across the country, and the number is only growing. Many of them are repurposed from other facilities as well. And for me, migration has been part of my family story for as long as I can remember. My grandparents migrated before my mom was born. My mom migrated during her childhood. My family migrated during my childhood. Our church family members migrated. Migration is part of my story. It's part of so many of our stories. And for me, many people who have migrated have been the most formative people in my early life, and in fact, saved my life. And so for me, I can't stand by and watch as so many people who have done nothing wrong other than migrate into this country are detained indefinitely in cells, in jumpsuits, left in these facilities where their human rights are violated, where they're isolated. There's so many people who are incarcerated who are our neighbors, our cousins, our siblings, but who live in this other reality that is hidden, that runs in parallel to our own society of those of us who live free on the outside. Yesterday we had the opportunity to visit El Refugio, which is an immigrant detention center ministry in Lumpkin, Georgia. And I was struck by how they started small. They started with concern for those who were detained at Stewart Detention Center and have grown into a ministry of hospitality which welcomes lawyers, which welcomes family members of those who are detained. And in New Mexico, we're starting small as well. We have developed a core group of volunteers who are willing to do pickups when people are released and short-term housing. We're helping people get to their family members or transition into their new life if they're granted asylum or released for other reasons. And we're also working on creating an accompaniment system for those who are still detained within the facility. We have an opportunity to reach out to those whose lives have been changed and who have been isolated, sent into confinement in these correctional facilities. And if you, like me, have been impacted by migration, see immigrants as a vibrant part of our community, a vibrant part of the body of Christ, then I invite you to join me in reaching out, in doing our small part to transform our communities, to end isolation, to create the kind of community that we all want to live in, a community that welcomes all, that welcomes the stranger and invites them into new life. We need more volunteers to go into the facility, to visit with people who are detained there. We need people to write letters. We need people to send reading materials to those who are inside. We need people to help pick up those who are released, to offer short-term housing, and we need donations to help continue this work and expand what we're doing. Will you join us?